Stand up against me in a discussion about immigration reform and the need to do things the right way. And I have to tell you that I think it was good for both of us. I think Raul would agree that I adjusted his thinking some, and I know he adjusted my thinking some. At the end of the day, I think what we figured out is that both of us are in very similar positions when it comes to immigration reform. There is a need to get the border secured for national security issues and other issues. Keep track of who is in our country and whether they're here legally. There is a need for the immigration offices that operate within Homeland Security to, number one, get the border secured. Number two, know who's in our country. Number three, figure out if we should be letting people in, whether it's for them to come here for education, whether it's for them to come here for a job. If we can offer the jobs to Americans first, and we still have a need to fill a position, we got to have a system that actually works to bring those workers here. Raul was willing to stand up and go toe-to-toe with me. He didn't move me very far, but he did help me understand a couple of things that did help me to make a better product when I was working on the bill that helped me in Congress.
And the most important thing is that through that dialogue, we forged a friendship. Because we were talking about principles, we were not attacking each other, we were talking about principles that were important for the American people. And that's, I think, when our relationship started, and that's how we became friends, and we got to know each other much better because of those differences that we had. And I think, like he said, we actually were in agreement with most of the ideas that we were talking about.
Yep.
Given the small percentage by which Congressman Minnick won the last election, tell us how you think that may work to your advantage this time, and what you plan to do about using that in the campaign.
Well, if you look at this campaign, the congressional district right now has voted 63% for John McCain, about 68% for George Bush. It's a Republican conservative district. There was some dissatisfaction with the Republican Party 2 years ago because of what the National Party was doing. And I think that's what Bill encountered here in Washington, that he was getting blamed for some of the things that were happening in Washington, D.C., which he was actually trying to fight against instead of being on the same side of those people. And that's why Walt Minnick was able to defeat him. I think Walt Minnick also kind of fed the people a mind that he's a conservative. And he likes to tattle his conservative principles, and there's like 3 or 4 of them. But most of them are not conservative principles, and I think we will be able to educate the people of Idaho that he's actually not in tune with the people of Idaho. And I think we will see some large majorities voting for the Republican Party.
Jill, let me put just a little different spin on that. Walt Minnick and his friends spent $4.5 million trying to defeat me, and I had a 1% margin. In a year when there was Obama mania, in a year when people were dissatisfied with, still dissatisfied with the Republican Party over things that George Bush was doing. There's a great deal of that, and if you look at the polling on this, frankly, it's dissatisfaction primarily among Republicans. That's why it's important to have a guy who will, do what is right, irrespective of party affiliation. But the problem that Raul's going to have is the same problem I had. Walt Minnick and his friends are going to bring a lot of money to the plate. I expect it to be a tough fight, but I think it's important that Raul will have the kind of help from the conservative community that it will take for him to prevail in this election.
Have you met Vaughn Moore?
Yes, I have.
What's your make of it?
Well, Vaughn has served our country with distinction, and we owe him a debt of gratitude for that. There's no way around that, as we do with all of our veterans. But I have to tell you, sending Vaughn word to Washington, D.C. is a little bit like sending a Boy Scout to Iraq. He doesn't have any experience casting tough votes. He doesn't have experience in the political realm. And I can tell you, after spending 16 years in the state capitol here, I learned an awful lot about politics. But when you make that jump to Washington, D.C., boy, there are people there that are smooth as silk. And there's lots of power back there, and you need someone who can hit the ground with a little bit of experience. You know, I think Von Wert is a fine man, and you know, frankly, I wish he was running for the legislature, because he needs the kind of experience that you get here. I think he's got probably a bright political future at some point, but I just don't think now is the right time to send him to a place like Washington, D.C.